In today's world, we are increasingly dependent on technology. Our business and personal lives rely on it, but as you've probably noticed, it's unreliable. Our computers are slow, so we end up squinting at smartphones and tablets. The jokers we pay to fix our stuff have no clue what they're doing. We live in constant fear that something's going to happen to our personal data. So we're scared into paying for fake protection that proves useless when disaster strikes. Update attacks, fake Wi-Fi, cloud control, intelligent, successful people feel intimidated by the chaos and think it's somehow their fault. If they only knew what the industry was doing to them, they'd get torches and pitchforks. If only we had someone to explain it all in plain English so we can start protecting ourselves. Oh wait, we do! It's the Computer Exorcist Podcast with your host, Mark Anthony Arena.
From the Wallace Memorial microphone in my living room, overlooking the glorious hills of Western New York, this is the Computer Exorcist Podcast. Mark Anthony Arena here, your Computer Exorcist. So glad you've joined me today for a teaching episode. We're going to catch up on some more articles, and I'm going to explain why these articles from a couple of years ago are still very relevant. First up, we got some fan mail from Jim in Buffalo. He says, I'm noticing websites are becoming more and more difficult to access on VPNs. Links won't work and sites are asking for human verification, and some won't even work unless I turn off the VPN. This never used to be a problem. What happened? Here's what's going on, Jim. So VPN is utter garbage, and it's not meant for consumers to use. Look, if you are working at a large corporation and you're working from home and you need to dial into your home office, so to speak, except no more dial-up modems, then you use a VPN. It creates a tunnel around you so that your computer can participate as if it were in the office underneath your office router. Okay? The other scenario is if you are studying abroad or working abroad and you want to be able to use American video services like Netflix and so on. And again, if you want your computer to act as though it were participating underneath a router in the US, then great, use a VPN. And with a VPN, you can pick what city you are coming from. So it'll look like you're in Buffalo, or it'll look like you're in San Francisco, or whatever. But here's the deal. A lot of filthy companies are telling people that they need a VPN to protect you against hackers and malware and spyware and viruses and lions and tigers and bears, oh my. And that's all pointless. And Google laughs in the face of that. So Google records everything you do with or without a VPN. I've shown this to clients. I say, hey, look, even though you have VPN, I'm going to show you a list of things Google has recorded about you. Okay, and viruses can't get through anything anymore anyways, and bad guys are using fully legalized means of breaking into your computer, right? The Yahoo toolbar and the My Web Search toolbar and the driver guide and all of these will get right in because they're fully legalized. They don't care where you're coming from. So VPN is utterly pointless. Look, I had one client who was going to Thailand for vacation next week, and I said, fine. If you're doing important financial stuff, fine, and you can use a VPN. But other than that, nobody needs it. And guess what? There's always side effects, folks. There's always side effects. So if you're using a VPN, you're going to see stuff like Jim from Buffalo is seeing, where websites get a little paranoid if they're saying, hey, you know what? There's a ton of people coming from this particular IP address. In other words, the IP address of, let's say, the Nebraska location of the VPN company, right? They're computers that want to appear as though they're in Nebraska. So they tell the VPN that they want to emerge from the Nebraska location. So there's a lot of this. Websites are noticing, hey, look, there's a ton of people coming from this particular VPN, and they're afraid of AI agents now, so they're locking themselves down, and they're asking for verification. Or some sites don't even work at all, especially if you're set your location to a foreign location. So that's what's going on. It's all side effects. It's a beautiful way to pilfer $7 a month out of most of humanity. Okay? Next one here. Hundreds of HP printer models are vulnerable to remote code execution. HP has published a security advisory for 3 critical severity vulnerabilities affecting hundreds of their printers. Hundreds of their models, actually. Hundreds of their models. So probably thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of their printers. It's a buffer overflow flaw that could lead to remote code execution on the affected machine. In other words, horribly sloppy code that the designers put in here. Sloppy computer instructions inside of this printer that open it up to remote hijacking from bad guys. Okay? And as usual, HP will do an update attack, but I bet you $1 billion it was the result of an update attack. Hold on, folks. We got a doorbell. Let's see. Hang on a second. I got to check the door. Folks, you're never going to believe who's at the door. For the first time in studio, it's Karl MailChimp.
Oh, hey. How you guys doing? I'm so cheesed to be here.
Cheese?
That's a phrase, isn't it?
In England, they say I'm chuffed.
What's that?
It's a country. Didn't you learn about it?
No, I know what England is, doofus. I'm saying, what's chuffed mean?
It means I'm stoked. In California, they say stoked.
You think they're trying to say chafed? And it came out wrong, and then they just kind of went with it?
I don't know. Well, what are you're in the neighborhood. You just found out where I lived and came.
Listen, I was just walking around knocking on doors, and you're the first one who answered. I gotta be honest, it's a beautiful day outside. The sun is out. I got a nice leather coat on. First time in feels like years that I was able to shed that outer layer, you know, the scarf and the gloves and the big old jacket that you're sweating inside, but on the outside you're freezing cold. So I was just out for a stroll, like I said, and thanks for answering.
You know, it's the first day in Rochester where it's above -40.
Which is a huge step for us, right? I mean, we're trending in the right direction. I think that glacier hanging over the park is going to melt probably within the next maybe 10 years if we keep on this track.
And you're going to see a lot of cars coming out of there that were stuck in the ice.
It's going to be like a time capsule. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, yesterday I was somewhere. I think I was talking to my dad and his friends at church, and they said one spring, there was a huge snow pile in their neighborhood that melted, and then a car came out of it.
You know, when I was growing up down in the 19th Ward, we had a perpetual snow pile, never melted.
Even in summer?
Even in the summertime, we'd go up there, we'd play King of the Mountain. You know that game, King of the Mountain?
Oh, I did that as a kid.
I was the king for 3 years. That was my mountain.
3 straight years? Like you lived there?
Oh, no, just during the daytime. But, you know, I would check. I had a view from my window, so I would see if there was any kids out there. And I'd yell at them. You know, they called it Karl's Peak.
So, Karl, you just walked in on me recording an episode of the Computer Exorcist
I can
podcast.
leave. I apologize. I didn't know you were in the middle of something.
No, as you might know this, but you are the star of the show, and we're glad to have you here. So I've got a couple articles if you want to give me your opinion.
I would love nothing more. I got nothing to do today, so this is perfect. Actually, you're filling up my day. This is great.
Are you gonna go home and buy more bubble gum and watch the Yankees on TV?
Honestly, I got a lot of people that I gotta call. I've been having trouble with my computer. I don't know. Somebody's been using my Apple account, and I've been trying to figure it out for months. That keeps happening. I don't know.
Well, here's some good news for you. Here's an article here. Listener Matt sent this in from Wall Street Journal.
Thanks, Matt.
And senior communities add tech assistance as one of their perks.
You mean like they hired a person that's gonna help out with the technology?
And they're actually in your physical presence, so you know they're not a scammer.
How can we be sure?
Well, you can safely assume if they physically hired someone. And who knows, the dude might mean well, he might be totally incompetent, but at least he's not an outright scammer. And
you know, Mark, I'm feeling a little uneasy about this, I gotta be honest. You know, I used to work at Kodak.
Oh, I remember them.
And we had a guy who worked there, right? Nobody really knew this guy's deal, right? He just kind of showed up one day and he was working on the film production. He was on the film production line. He kind of kept to himself. Well, it came out that this guy was scamming the company. He was scamming, basically taking money from George Eastman's pocket himself and putting it in his pocket. He was taking the film that he was making and he was selling it overseas.
Wow.
So he was, in effect, a scammer.
Good point.
These physical people can still do the scams.
But nowadays, it's the opposite. That's a great question.
I still don't know how it works, but I guess you're right.
But listen, Karl, you're right to be suspicious. That's all I ask of my clients is if some scary guy calls you, please have a healthy level of suspicion. That's it.
I gotta be honest, when I don't understand something, it makes me really uncomfortable.
And that's how they like it. That's how the industry likes it. And that's why they're making so much money, because they ultra complexify themselves and everyone is terrified, so everyone just pays. Whenever you're told to pay for something, no one knows why they're paying 99 cents a month to Apple, but they just pay it because they're afraid. So the subtitle here says, residents need help downloading apps, making Zoom calls, logging into doctor's appointments, and much more. And yeah, that's because Zoom ultra complexifies itself every day. These websites are ultra complex. It's all complex garbage. I had to help someone the other day. He wanted to upload a document to his doctor's website, and he wasn't allowed. So I had to teach him how to convert that doc into a PDF. It was nuts.
What's that? PDF?
Yeah,
What's a PDF?
It's a document that's frozen in time, so to speak, and they call it portable document format, so you can send it to other people easily.
So you're freezing the document. Are you sure that's what PDF stands for? Because it sounds like it should stand for Person's Documents Frozen. I don't know why you think that's funny. I mean, I'm just trying to make sense of this here. You know I'm not good with the technology, and so I'm trying to keep up, if I'm being honest. I'm a little overwhelmed.
You're more than keeping up. You have a quick wit. So hopefully they're also helping people with passwords, because billions of people have billions of passwords. And as I always say every episode, these jokers are making us come up with ultra complicated passwords for absolutely no reason. It can never protect us at all, but it can only serve to terrify our seniors.
I gotta be honest, I've been using the same password for 75 years, since before the computers. I use the same password for everything.
Good, I do too, actually.
It makes it a lot easier, but you know what? It's a good password, and I feel comfortable with you and with the listeners enough to let them in on the secret.
Oh, no.
So most people think, the easiest password to figure out, right? We're talking about 4 numbers, 1111. I throw them a curveball. You think maybe it's going to change the last number? No. I changed the second to last number. So my password for everything is 1171. It'd take them at least 50 guesses to figure that one out.
Yeah, there you go, folks.
Oh, no. Did I really just say that on the air?
Please, folks. You know what? A lot of my clients call me and they start telling me their passwords. I said, don't tell me your password. Don't email it to me. I just keep it written down, and that's it.
Mark, I gotta be honest. I know I said that I got nothing to do today, but I think I'm gonna spend the afternoon changing my password because I let the cat out of the bag with that one.
Yes, you did. All right, one more.
I listen. The password's out there. If the bad people are gonna do something with it now, won't be able to stop me if I leave right now anyway. So let's keep it rolling.
All right, so this is cnet.com and iPhone SE 2022 for people who just want an iPhone. All right, and this is very important. I tell people all the time, because if you walk in the store and you're a senior, they're gonna rub the $1,300 iPhone all over your head and they're gonna push it on you, right?
I got the newest one right here in my hand. It's got 2 terabytes of storage.
What are you gonna do with 2 terabytes?
I thought that they were talking to me about dinosaurs. I don't know.
And that's how they get you, because this entire industry is fueled by people who are on a quota to sell as much garbage as possible, and they don't care who they sell it to or if they need it, right?
I thought that I needed it. I thought he was pretty convincing.
Yeah, that's the problem. But really, he was trying to convince you to buy something so he can get a quota. I make my money by saving people money, right?
Well, where were you the day that I bought my phone?
I tell my people, I'll go with you to the store to protect you. I did. One time I was with a client, and the guy put all these boxes under his arm and brought her to the cash register. I said, what are you doing? And he said, well, she needs this. I said, what do you keep saying this? And he snuck an iPad under his arm.
That's pretty sneaky, I gotta be honest.
Right?
Those things are kind of hard to hide. They're pretty bulky.
Right? And this guy just thought, well, I'm just going to sell her as much garbage. Scummy guy. But so certainly, folks, I have some cousins, and I told them, too, I'll go with you. So here's the deal with the iPhone. Apple's expected to announce its newest smartphone, the budget-minded iPhone SE. the device doesn't typically include surprising new technology, which nobody needs. It does offer a modern iPhone for much less than the $699 entry price of a standard iPhone 13. Aren't they up to like $1,300 now?
Oh, at least. I think I paid like $2,200 for mine. But it's okay. They locked me into a 4-year payment plan, so I'm only paying like $30 a month.
Right, and then 2 seconds from now it'll be too slow to use and you'll have to buy a new one before
It's
the 4
already
years
slow. I threw it against the wall this morning because it upset me. I was trying to upload I read the news. You know what the news is, right?
Yeah.
I used to get the newspaper, but now I get we were getting the Democrat and Chronicle for years, decades. But now it's like 80% garbage. It's just like you're printing it out just to throw it away. I wouldn't use it to clean my windows with. So my wife said, listen, it's a lot cheaper to just go online, and I'm against going online to read things because it hurts my eyes. So I'm going online now to read the news, and I'm waiting for this article to load. I'm still learning the phrases here, so I apologize. So I'm waiting for the news article to load, and I'm just sitting there like a doofus, staring at this screen with the sands of time just kind of turning over each other, going back and forth, and I'm thinking to myself, I could have read 3 articles in the newspaper by now, the amount of time this is taking. My phone is slow as heck, and I just bought the dang thing.
So, anyway, the idea with this iPhone SE is unlike, unlike the $699 iPhone 13 or the $1,099 iPhone 13 Pro Max. The iPhone SE isn't meant to wow with cutting-edge features like super bright screens. I've never had a problem with brightness. Room-sensing lasers or macro photography. So much as it's meant to satisfy for a far low price of $399. Okay, so they've done this before. The first generation of iPhone SE was a hit with many customers who loved its unique combination of small size and high-end performance and affordable price. This could entice, so this is the third generation of the budget model, so I always tell my clients, if you have to have an iPhone, if you're addicted to the Apple logo, ask for the cheap one, okay? It could entice people who'd otherwise balk at buying a phone that costs about the same as an average month's rent. It's an iPhone for people who don't want all the bells and whistles, they just need a phone, and that's what ticks the boxes. So that's the conclusion. Avoid Samsung forever and ever and ever, amen, with liberty and justice and a cherry on top. There are 3,800 other brands of Android, okay? But if you're addicted to the Apple brand, next time, Karl, 4 years from now, ask them for the cheap iPhone. There is no difference whatsoever from the standpoint of a senior citizen.
I'm calling you next time I go to buy an iPhone. You're coming with me because I went with my wife, and let me tell you, we walked out of there with the AirPods. We walked out of there with the iPad. She got herself a Mac, the Mac Air, which is just a fancy term for a computer. And when all is said and done, we basically bought the whole store.
Oh, no.
I think I must have dropped half of my freaking retirement allotment for that month.
Oh, no.
Thank God I got the pension plan from Kodak, or else we'd be up a river without a paddle.
You're one of the few people who still has their Kodak pension.
Let me tell you, it's fantastic. I got out 2 years before everything hit the fan. And it was beautiful.
That's very smart of you. And I've heard that from some folks. So, yeah, be extremely careful because they're going to sell you evil accessories and they're going to sell you fake subscriptions and protection plans, and they're going to try to sell you the 365 scandal if you're at a Windows-based store. Actually, who knows? They'll sell it to you anywhere, which is an eternal rental. AirPods are too confusing for me to use. All right, no less a normal consumer of any age.
I use them to clean my ears, if I'm being honest.
I don't ever... I laughed so hard the mic almost fell. I don't ever want to do this show alone, Karl. I want you to be here for every week.
Listen, if I'm ever in the neighborhood again and you're still the first person who answers when I knock on the door, then happy to do this with you.
So, folks, funny enough, when I printed out this iPhone article just like 3 days ago, I was at a client's house. And folks, if you have old iPhones, I can properly erase them. You're not allowed to ever resell an iPhone or give it to someone else unless you recuse yourself of the phone. So you have to do a sign out battle. It's just like a sign in battle with Apple. You have to sign out You have to give them your password 8 times and then 80 confirmations in order to sign out, because they don't want you reselling these, right? They want you to put it in the garbage and buy another one. So anyway, if you have old technology, let me know. I can come over and properly erase and properly sign you out of these things. So the other day, my clients gave me a couple iPhones and an iPad, which was cool, and I properly erased it. We had to have a password battle, and we got them out of there, and I will repurpose these and give them to the poor. But what you see here, what I have in my hands, is an iPhone SE from 2022. And this was one of the, so I'm so glad that they bought the cheap one back in 2022, right? And it's still going to work easily for another 5-10 years, so this will be my next phone. I'm still using an iPhone 7, and just to prove a point. So this is going to go in my drawer, and I'm going to use this as my next phone. So maybe around 2032, I'm going to start using this as my next phone. So that's the point. Always buy the cheapest phone, and it will last you twice as long as the Joker tells you it will.
Yeah, I remember the first phone that I had was like a big brick. You remember those brick phones? You build a house out of those things. They're like indestructible.
Oh, my parents had them. They were great.
You could take down a plane with that thing from the radiation waves that thing gave off.
Yeah.
Now people, they use it to, like me, use it to read the dang news. I want a piece of paper. If I gotta make a phone call, I use the phone to make a phone call. Now it's...
And clean your ears.
And clean my ears with the accessories. You gotta find another use. You know, sometimes I use my phone as a paperweight because I don't know if the mic picked that up, but it's kind of like a brick, but in all the bad ways, you know?
It picked it up.
Good, for emphasis.
Okay, so we got 10 more minutes, Karl. You want to do a couple more?
I'm here for you.
Okay, so thelibertydaily.com. Apple prepares for the Great Reset with plans to make you rent your iPhone.
No way.
You will own nothing and you will be happy. And that's what it says. So luckily so far, and that's why I'm reading these articles in retrospect, to celebrate and rejoice when someone's evil plot doesn't come to fulfillment, doesn't come to fruition. So we're very happy that. So as of now, they're still satisfied just by selling us massively overpriced products and making us think we needed them and making us think we need to buy them all the time. So it's like renting, but luckily they haven't gotten that far yet. So please be careful, folks, if you ever see that. They're going to call it iPhone free forever or Liberty for free, or they'll dress it up, right?
Does that mean that they're going to probably have like terms over like what you can use the phone for? If you overuse it, then you gotta, kind of like if you're leasing a car, where you're responsible for some of the maintenance, but still you spend too many hours on the screen, they're gonna be like, oh, no. Now you went over your screen time, so now we're gonna charge you. We're gonna charge you more.
It's yet another set of fears that you're going to have to fear. You already live in fear using the phone because of all the scammers and because of all the legalized malware and
every
all
day of my life, I'm afraid. I wake up in fear.
And now you're going to have to live, especially because you're Rochesterian. That's the way of life here.
But it's instilled in us from a young age. But that was before the phones became a problem.
And I don't know if I've ever said this publicly, but a lot of times, years ago I had a secretary and she and I could tell if someone was born here. If they called in a panic and they were impatient and they were in terror and they were, you gotta get it right now! And they're Rochesterians. But if someone called up and, hey, I got an issue, come as soon as you can, I know you're busy, they were from non-Rochester. And we could tell with 99% accuracy. I would say, hey, you weren't born here, were you?
You know, it's really funny because for me, that's just how I learned to talk on the phone. You know, my dad he yelled a lot. He was a big yeller. I always heard him yelling on the phone about this, about that. And that's it. I picked that up. So I'm kind of the same way.
So, all right, here's another one. FoxNews.com. Iowans respond to delayed project giving Apple $200 million in public incentives. Quote, it's just welfare, unquote. So apparently Apple was going to go to Des Moines, and they had an agreement with the government there that they were going to get $200 million in public subsidies for a project that's years behind schedule. Okay, let's see. In exchange for 50 permanent jobs? In exchange for 50? Why don't they take the $200 million and hire me and Karl and 48 other people and have us sit there and smoke cigars for 3 years.
I'd do it for 1 million. If I'm being honest. Keep the other 199, just give me one.
Yeah. Wow. And folks, it's not like, okay, look, I can maybe understand if it's a fledgling business, right? Like the Computer Exorcist or something like that, but it's Apple. They're one of the highest valued companies in history. Yeah.
That's a real head scratcher right there. I think that those folks out there in Iowa, they must have got corn in their ears or something because they're probably not hearing them very well. Or they're spending too much time outside. They don't know. They're not reading the news on their phones like I am.
They should clean their ears out.
I gotta give them some AirPods to clean out their ears.
So you're a genius. WindowsCentral.com. 2022, Russia threatens to nationalize Microsoft and other Western companies who are located there.
Here we go again.
Russia threatened to seize assets or nationalize companies that have stopped operations in the country. Oh, so they've already pulled out, so I don't know what they're doing. So they said Microsoft, Apple, IBM, and McDonald's are among companies that could be affected. Vladimir Putin said shared support for having external management take over those companies. And look, please have at them. It's Microsoft. Anything you do will improve them. You can have them, please. Take. You know what? Fly to Washington State and take over the whole thing, please. You'll be less brutal.
You know what's funny is that back in the early 90s, I started to get into computers. I felt a little more confident about the technology at that time.
We were.
It was more simple, right? I mean, It just made a lot of sense, and that was the day of the dial-up internet. The sounds made you really uncomfortable. Sound kind of like a meat grinder or something. But anyways, I got a computer in my basement still, the desktop with Windows 95 on it,
and it's still running.
It's still running, yeah. But you know what? I sent an email in 1997, and then the sands of time popped up, the waiting for it to send. To this day, I refuse to unplug that computer because that email still hasn't sent. It's still pending, it's still sands of timing. I'm afraid to unplug it if I'm being honest because I worked hard. I spent like 45 minutes writing that email. I don't want to lose my work.
Just write it on a piece of paper. The recipient's probably dead by now.
Well, that's kind of besides the point. I want to have the record out there so that I can talk to his descendants. This, by the way, yeah, you're right. He is deceased. It was my good friend Salvatore. I wrote it. We had a little bet going on about the Rochester Rhinos and the season that they were having that year. And
they're long since gone.
Long since gone, just like Sal. May he rest in peace. But, listen, it was a dissertation about everything, and I perfectly predicted the season of the Rochester Rhinos that year. I got it exactly right down to the goal, every score, every game. And nobody's gonna believe me if that email never goes through.
Folks, the only thing I could say is if you have an old computer in the basement, it's worth a lot of money. Last year I went to a client in Charlotte, and she had one of those glorious, beautiful Packard Bells in the basement. I really wanted to keep it. So I worked with her to erase her stuff, right? And then I ended up, I gave her some credit toward it or money or something, and then I sold it to a buddy. I wanted to keep it myself because it was in glorious shape. It was very shiny. But I sold it to a buddy, and he's going to make sure that some collector gets it. So if you have old 90s technology, let me know. We'll properly erase it, and it's worth something. Because those computers still work, and they don't have arbitrary doomsday dates. The computers you buy today are designed to stop working at a certain date. And on top of that, I mean, that's the crazy part, that websites are now designed so that your computer has to have a current security certificate, otherwise you're not allowed to go to it. So that's insane. And later on, they're like with Apple products, you won't be allowed to activate them, so you won't be allowed to use them or turn them on at all. That's called forced obsolescence, and it's coming soon. Anyway, the old stuff is worth more because it's disconnected and it's not controlled by nefarious sources.
So, Mark, I'm going to tell you what. You know, this bet that I had with Salvatore was for $25. So not a lot of money. I would be willing to unplug that computer and turn it over to you. You don't got to buy it from me, though. I can rent that computer to you for $10 a month in perpetuity. You said that machine's gonna run forever?
Yeah, so see, you have, all my seniors are normal, intelligent, successful people who have common sense. So you see right there that if you rent something to someone for $10 a month, that's a lot of money after 30 years.
It's $120 a year, I know that much.
Yeah.
10 years, what is that? It's like 500 grand.
There you go. So maybe what Apple will end up doing is selling people the $1,099 phone and then also doing a rental scheme for people who don't know any better, right? Who are going to pay them, let's say the total yearly rent is $2,000 a year. Or even $1,000 a year for 2-3 years or whatever. Then they're making double or triple the money.
It's like a bank.
Yeah.
It's all corrupt.
Yeah. Plus, they're getting $1 a month times everybody in the world. That's a lot of dollars every month.
And I can't count that high. I don't know about you.
So
my calculator only goes up to 9 digits.
So one more here. This is PCGamer.com. NVIDIA hackers target Samsung and they release 190 gig of sensitive data.
Is that a lot, Mark?
Yes, it is. So that's relatively small because our laptops now have 1,000 gig, except for Apple ones, which are actually smaller now. But most normal non-Apple laptops have 1,000 gigs of space.
So how many in 190 gigs? How many datas of people do you think that you can store?
That's a great question because it depends on how much data Samsung is recording about you. Remember, folks, if you go to the store, I had someone the other day who tried to buy an expensive Sony, and the joker at the store said, "Why don't you get this cheaper Samsung?" They are incentivized to push Samsungs on people because Samsungs are spying machines. They record what you say in your house, they record what you're watching, and then they sell that information. So it depends on how much information they recorded about you. But this is interesting. The hacker group actually they had demands, and it wasn't money demands. They had demands. They wanted Samsung to release the source code for some of their drivers and an end to the crypto mining limiter. That's really interesting.
I don't know about any of the stuff that you just said, but it sounds dangerous.
So this is hysterical. Yeah, it is. So the Register reported to do the Samsung leak has thus far included source code for trusted apps. So I talk about this in my book. Trusted is a fake scam word that makes people feel trusted, but in reality it just means an evil string of long characters. So the bad guys broke into Samsung's naked servers, grabbed the string of long passwords, long numbers, and then there you go. There goes all your trust, right? If you have that long string of numbers, then you can break into all their evil products. So Samsung is brutal, and they have locked down phones that are brutal and have unremovable factory spyware. But in reality, their trusted code was stolen out of the back door, like I say all the time.
That's why I keep my back door locked.
And they also took the algorithms used in the company's biometrics. So the evil software that records your fingerprint, they actually took the algorithm as to how to record people's fingerprints on the software, on the phones. And then this is the dumbest thing ever, and a lot of articles say this, and it says, "It might be a prudent time to check out our guide to the best antivirus programs." All right, that's very stupid because viruses can never happen after the year 2013. These guys are light years, decades beyond viruses. But the joker here has a link, and it's a sponsored link. So they're going to make money off of people who are now living in fear because of this breach, thinking that somehow antivirus is going to protect them, right? Antivirus can only protect the front door. It can never protect other people's companies. They're telling you to go out and buy an antivirus product, which will slow your computer down to molasses, because somebody broke into somebody else's company.
That's unbelievable.
Insane.
Truly insane.
Well, Karl.
Mark, I gotta be honest, I'm having a ball here. I'm learning a lot. Listen, the personal data, the storage, that's really interesting stuff. All this talk about Apple, I was able to get a lot of things off of my chest. So I feel a lot better about myself. I think it's going to help me with my day. I'm going to live in a little bit less fear.
Good.
I'm not going to live in no fear because, where we live, right? If you don't live in fear, then you're the one causing the problem. But that's my time. I got to be honest. I got to go change a lot of passwords. So I appreciate you having me on. To all the wonderful listeners, keep on listening because it's a nice show. Let's be honest. It's a nice show. We enjoy it.
We're going to stay tuned, folks, because Karl and I have tons of recordings we haven't produced yet of us messing with scammers, and it's going to be beautiful. And if you want to buy a preview edition of my book, you can go to thecomputerexorcist.com, and you can buy it there. Stay tuned for the release of that book, but you can buy the preview now. And thanks so much for listening. Talk to you next week.
Bye.